Mr. Chancellor, it is my honor to present to you Dr. Heather Monroe Bloom, the 16th Principal of McGill University, a world leader in the advancement of higher education, a public servant of great distinction, and an accomplished scholar in the field of psychiatric epidemiology. During her decade-long tenure as the first woman principal of this great university, Dr. Heather Monroe Bloom set a standard for rigor, service, and innovation that has helped anchor McGill's place among the leading universities of the world for generations to come. So much happened in those 10 years. Enhancing student life and learning was one of her key priorities. Principal Monroe Bloom understood instinctively that the university has a responsibility to engage with students in all aspects of their intellectual and social lives, not only to better their own experience, but to enliven the research agenda of their professors and to embrace, as a guiding university value, the diversity they represent best. She presided over a renewal of the professoriate during the time McGill recruited teachers and scholars from around the world. Every corner of the university was invited to reinvent itself in an historic process of planning the intellectual, teaching, and administrative priorities consonant with McGill's fabled past and promising future. As principal, she unabashedly championed McGill's vocation as a research-intensive university with government officials and the captains of industry. She forged an unprecedented number of international partnerships that have taken McGill professors and students to sister universities around the world. She called on Canadians to adopt a socially responsible approach to funding fair and accessible higher education for all. The principal also reminded us that McGill is itself a citizen with responsibilities for delivering world-class health care to Quebecers, as part of the urban landscape of this city that we have a responsibility to beautify, as an engine for economic well-being locally, across this province, and in Canada. Principal Monroe Bloom took on this and much more, not just part of good institutional governance, but as matters of public policy that require a university like McGill to be at the center of civic life and a democracy. The capital campaign she led, a success from which McGill should never turn back, was a means to all of these ends. And it was important not just because it broke records for fundraising, but because it instilled in all of us, graduates, staff, students, parents, friends, the sense that there was nothing nobler that could be done with money than investing it in a university. Revenue quelque peu inopinément de Toronto, la principale Monroe Bloom a choisi de s'installer au Québec, comme beaucoup de nos professeurs et étudiants, en raison de l'héritage et de la promesse de l'Université McGill. Elle a vite gagné les cœurs et les esprits des gens d'ici pour devenir une avocate exemplaire pour Montréal et pour cette province auprès de toutes les instances nationales et internationales. Présidente de la Conférence des recteurs et des principaux des universités du Québec, conseillère précieuse des ministres de l'Éducation supérieure, de la recherche à Québec et à Ottawa, Heather Monroe Bloom est non seulement devenue la McGilloise par excellence, mais aussi une Montréalaise et une Québécoise qui fait honneur aux universités d'ici. Scientifique accomplie, aujourd'hui elle siège au Conseil consultatif de sociétés savantes au Canada et à l'international, de grandes œuvres de charité et d'institutions financières et d'affaires qui prennent appui, comme McGill le fait encore, sur sa sagesse, sa grande expérience de la vie publique, son énergie contagieuse et son élégance légendaire. Mr. Chancellor, I respectfully present Principal Emerita Heather Monroe Bloom so that you may confer upon her the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa.
Thank you, Judge Kazir. Congratulations, Dr. Monroe Bloom, and I would now invite you to deliver the convocation address. Dr. Heather Monroe Bloom.
Bonjour, quelle journée. C'est pour moi un moment sans pareil, avec beaucoup d'émotion. Thank you, Justice Kassir, for your warm and extremely generous introduction. Thank you, Chancellor Emeritus Pound, for all of your contributions and for being here today. Chancellor Meehan, Madame la Principale Fortier, Chairperson Panda, Principal Emeritus Shapiro, distinguished platform party, McGill senators, thank you for this extraordinary honor. It's an honor I share with all those I have worked with and the great institution and causes I've had the privilege to serve. And to you, graduating class of 17, thank you for sharing this ceremony and your very special day with me. I know I stand between you and the main event. I will move along. As I said, I'm very moved to be here with you and to be recognized in this way by McGill. It's really indescribable for me how I feel. Class of 2017, today you're receiving your degree or diploma from an exceptional university, McGill, and with it, a worldwide recognition of distinction that will forever be attached to your name. There are few moments in life when it's perfectly appropriate to stop and savor the quality of your achievements, but this is certainly one of them. You've worked very hard for the right to be here today, and I know that you're aware that you've also been helped by many others to reach this point, by your families, by your teachers, by your friends. Though my own parents, like some of yours I'm sure, did not have a university education, they gave me the confidence to challenge and to engage intelligently with the world as I experience it, to value reading and learning as integral to a fulfilling life. And as we recognize and express today our thanks to your family's graduating class, let me say to my husband, Leonard Bloom, how grateful I am to you, Lenny. For the love and support we've shared for almost 50 years. Without this, I most certainly would not be standing here today. You, with our daughter Sydney and her Dan, are at the center of my heart. Now, you might all imagine that the university roles in which I have served have offered me formal participation in many convocation ceremonies, and this is true. For me, convocations represent the very heart of the university. Each one, in its entirety, is a joyous representation of all the best that the university stands for. So I've been very lucky, like our chancellor and our principal, to, over the course of my career, have had the privilege of contributing to many convocation ceremonies, almost 200 as I count them. When I asked my daughter what she thought I should speak about today at this personal ceremony, she said, "Speak your truth, Mom." Well, normally my convocation remarks would celebrate you, graduating class, and they certainly do today. Then in my typical address, I would also give advice. Professors have trouble not giving advice, as you probably know. And I would cite the relevant contributions of a great McGill scholar or scientist to drive home my advice. Well, from one perspective, such remarks have certainly represented my truth, but I know it's not what my daughter meant. She meant, be personal, tell your story, so I will. Here are a few of my truths, some facts about my life. And this isn't advice, not because advice isn't helpful, it can be, but I know that in our world, my generation has as much to learn from yours as you may have to learn from ours. This is a personal story, just that. On my 3rd birthday, I was rushed to a children's hospital where I was diagnosed with polio. My mom was told that I would never walk again. I was one of hundreds of thousands of children who were attacked by the polio virus in the big epidemic of the 1950s. The disease would have killed me, as it did many other children around the world, except for a few lucky breaks. I was sent to an institution, the Hospital for Sick Children, that was staffed with nurses, doctors, and researchers who were dedicated to extending the lives of children like me. My muscles were too weak to draw air into my lungs, but I was put into a piece of modern technology, an iron lung, which kept me alive through the crisis of the disease. My family was financially dependent on others to provide the support that would keep their child alive and breathing, and that support was there. But after the early months in hospital, I remained fragile, paralyzed, and ill. Then, a retired physiotherapist, a total stranger, volunteered to take me into her home to care for me. I was put into a full metal body brace and sent to live with her, completely at her own expense. In opposition to the widely accepted treatment of the day, bed rest, this elderly woman drew on her vast experience with patients like me and her own observational talents to offer me a different treatment. Each day she removed my braces, carried me to her ironing board, and spent the day pumping my legs back and forth. She did this every day for the better part of a year. After being away from my family for that long period, I returned home with only light braces on my lower legs, and I could walk. To strengthen my muscles, week after week, I was transported by Kiwanis Club volunteer drivers to a rehabilitation program at the Hospital for Sick Children, where I was taught to swim. And every week, I swam a little further. The time spent being cared for by that remarkable woman is filled with positive memories of being on her ironing board, looking out at her beautiful Victorian garden, of her telling me the story of the little engine that could, hearing her voice say, "I think I can, I think I can," over and over again as she moved my legs. When I was 5 years old, I walked into kindergarten with neither crutches nor braces. I looked just like all the other excited little 5-year-olds. That same year began the virtual elimination, in North America at least, of the disease that had attacked me and so many others. A devastating disease eradicated through an achievement of scientific research, the discovery of the polio vaccine by Dr. Jonas Salk. One day, 3 years later, my third grade class had a substitute teacher. She began class in the usual way, calling out the names of each student from a list on her desk. When she called my name, I stood up, said present, and sat down again. But the teacher stopped and sat there staring at me. She asked, "Is your mother's name Dorothy?" "Yes," I answered. She said, "Stand up and walk to my desk." Well, worried that I or my mother had done something wrong, I rushed up to her desk, whereupon, astonishingly, she began to cry. She said, "I was a nurse on your ward at the hospital when you were in an iron lung. We thought you would never walk again. We were worried you might die. But you didn't die, and you can walk. It's a miracle." Now, you might take these facts and come to the conclusion, like that teacher, that my extraordinary progress was a miracle, but you would be wrong. Or you might come to the conclusion that as a child I had some greater source of courage, some greater power of will than other children. But again, you would be wrong, because there are other truer reasons that I am literally standing here. I'm here because I lived in a place that had outstanding, well-funded public institutions dedicated to the advancement of science and knowledge, state-of-the-art technology, and dedicated to informed practice. I'm here because there were individuals, both professionals and volunteers, who did not accept tragic outcomes, who did not accept standard practices that didn't show a positive effect, who believed they must find and could find a better way. I'm here because I live in a country that has certain values. It values its citizens. It values the effort to achieve a high standard of health and education for everyone. It values institutions dedicated to pushing both the horizons of knowledge and the application of that knowledge. It values individuals with vision, courage, and determination to use their lives to make a difference. Or maybe that substitute teacher was right. Maybe it is a miracle that I can stand today. If so, then that miracle is that there exists a place in this world, a country that has these life-altering values. Graduating class of 2017, at this moment you are in such a place. When you leave this hall today, when you walk out into the daylight of your future, hold on to these values. Don't accept a tragic outcome. Don't accept pessimism or mediocrity. Okay, well, that was a little bit of advice. But these truths have shaped my life. in ways that I never could have imagined. Knowledge, science, values, courage, the goodwill of the people who we can connect with. Each of these has shaped an integral part of my personal story. And even though the path has taken twists and turns, the place I stand today was made possible by the availability of those elements and by the great opportunities for the deepening of knowledge that were laid out before me in this fine and decent country. Today, at this moment in your lives, I urge you to find your truths, whatever these may be. They will lead you too around corners, over hills, and through valleys unimagined. Embrace your strengths and see your challenges simply as goals to be reached in your own way. Wherever this leads you, I know it will be amazing. Lift yourself higher, work with those around you to do the same. This is my truth. Graduating class of 17, félicitations. My heartfelt congratulations to you. Savor every moment of this, your special day. Merci.